see that a lot of our customers are also here receiving the awards. It's so heartening to see that. Thanks for all of your support. We've done reasonably well. We are about 1,800 people now. We are in about 12 countries. We have established outside India. In India, we have done about 6 data centers. The 6th one is going to go live in a month's time in Bangalore. Sorry, that's the 5th one. Another 6th one, the 2nd data center in Hyderabad is going to be operational soon. And our strategy has been on community cloud development, and which worked very well for in the banking industry as well as for the manufacturing industries. So
I know that you have got a data center outside, because I know, in 2013 I was in Dubai, 13 to 15. I've seen some of your activities. You have got presence here, also abroad, overseas. So could you just put some lights on those kinds of initiatives you have? Probably I will ask other questions after this.
Okay. Yeah. It all started off with Indian MNCs asking for space outside and services outside India. That's how we started about 3 years ago in Dubai and US. But over a period of time, especially our global MNC customers, the technology vendors like SAP or large system integrators or IT services companies, or Fortune 100 companies that we work with, they felt that we are, as a player who have achieved a global scale of in-service delivery metrics, they felt that if we are present in many other countries, it would add a lot of value to them. And that's how the thought started. And we worked on the strategy, and we decided that we will be in about 40 plus countries in the next 2 years. Most of them are tier 2 countries from a cloud adoption perspective. These are, for example, Southeast Asia, all the 6 countries we are there. Right now, operational cloud pods in each country, 2 of them, with some of the largest customers in those countries are present. We are in Australia, New Zealand, we are in Middle East. This year we are planning Africa, South America as well.
Great, great to hear that. Sridhar, the journey of the customers or the enterprises today started from virtualization, then cloud, then completely digital transformation. So there are lots of dilemmas, there are lots of challenges, right? So what are your thoughts around, what do you hear from them, and what are your thoughts, how to address those challenges or dilemmas? How do you answer those questions?
Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of progressive CIOs here who have adopted cloud quite aggressively. But the biggest dilemma that I see in a CIO's mind is, they're not here, many of them, is that, what do I do after I outsource everything, So I've been running this show, and what do I do? That's the biggest dilemma. Some says it, some may not say it. The same question I had, I've been, a serial entrepreneur, established 8 businesses so far. Every time, the first business especially, I was so attached to that I don't want to give it up. I don't want to give it to my own managers. I don't want to let go of any of the decision making, right? But I realized that that was limiting my growth. That's where the progressive CIOs, and they have, their growth comes from, by outsourcing cloud. The biggest benefit of cloud is not cost benefit, OpEx to CapEx, etc., CapEx to OpEx, sorry. The biggest benefit that you are going to get of cloud outsourcing is, the creation of that bandwidth. The bandwidth which gets freed up from your day-to-day schedules, which could be put to use for the productivity improvement of the businesses. Establishing, using technology to improve some of your metrics or improving the top line. Create a strategic difference to your organization. I think that's the biggest benefit. Of course, many of are all here. We have seen you've given them awards with those because of those transformations. But that's the biggest dilemma, which some of the CIOs need to address. Of course, there are other dilemmas. Everything is running well. I have a data center here. It's working well. Why touch it unnecessarily, right? The status quo, or the resistance to to whatever is currently, running smoothly, especially if it is running smoothly, especially if a couple of years ago you built a data center, or et cetera, et cetera. That's another big dilemma that I see CIOs face in outsourcing to the cloud. Another one is the benefit analysis. When they do cost-benefit analysis, not every time the benefits is certain. Especially if you are doing a partial outsourcing, you won't see any benefit of the cloud. You will see it as expensive proposition than doing it in-house. So overall, I think these are some of the things which are going in the minds of the CIO community with respect to cloud as a subject.
Okay. Now it's not a single cloud. There are multiple clouds. It's very easy. I mean, it's a very easy thing or difficult thing to answer about how to manage, how to harmonize being in that cloud environment, isn't it? What are your thoughts around,
Of course, we have seen it.
Yeah.
We have seen it. Here is one cloud, and 2 hours back, IBM cloud presented, and there are many others. And of course, the AWS is there, the Azure is there. The way I see is that all the CIOs would eventually drift towards one large public cloud provider who would give them instances, scale, etc., and another cloud provider who is services-led. Both are required to run any organization. Not the way I see it is not a single cloud provider can fulfill all the needs. Especially, let's say, some of the software vendors, let's say Azure getting into putting Microsoft Exchange on the cloud. Probably they could give you a good deals because majority of the software component goes into it. Similarly, companies like us who provide an industrial solution, who give you a single SLA at the application layer, or a community cloud, or a cloud which does everything, including compliances for you. So there will be some specialist players. But there is a confusion in terms of, on one side, you are giving away to cloud outsourcing to create bandwidth for you, to make yourself free, but at the same time you're getting into the complexity of managing multiple cloud providers, right? So how do you, and this is a lot more complex. It is getting more and more complex handling these cloud services companies.
Exactly. So my next question will be leading to that. I mean, is there any benchmark, or what are the benchmarks for the cloud adoption?
There's no
cloud strategy around, for
the strategy itself. Yeah. So now this is the situation, right? You have multiple cloud providers. You want to get the best of the both worlds, or best of all the worlds if possible, and you want to create more bandwidth. How do we address that? That's where we see CtrlS going to play a major role, apart from providing data center services as well as cloud services. We have developed centers of excellence for all popular cloud platforms. Now, you can depend on them to deliver a seamless service across all public cloud platforms, standard public cloud platforms, and give you a single SLA for all your applications, including the security layer. And the most popular business applications like SAP or like Oracle or SQL or all the popular business apps we would give a single SLA. Whether it is on AWS, whether it is on Azure, it doesn't matter, or on Google Cloud, it doesn't matter. So you are getting a new age managed services provider, born in cloud, and developed the complete organization systems and processes to address that particular need of the enterprises.
Is it the simplest way that you are providing to the customers to create a migration, create a transformation, digital transformation in that journey, or you do have other? I'm asking you about CtrlS strategy for the customers, the simple ways, or simplifying their thoughts or their challenges to create a transformation, digital transformation from the existing state of affair to making a journey. Yeah.
Correct. I'll give you an example. This is as tough as it can get. Recently in one of the Southeast Asian countries, the largest, in fact, one of the largest conglomerates of Southeast Asia, the biggest groups, they have they own data centers, they have telecom companies, they have largest manufacturing facilities, etc. This is a conglomerate of 70 or 80 large size companies. And naturally their reaction was that, I already own everything. I have IT company also, I have a data center also, I have, telecom companies. Where is the question of me outsourcing? Why should I look at cloud? Of course, they realize the benefits of it, but then the issues surround it, right? It's as complex as it can get in terms of that, why don't the data center company will say, why don't you use my data centers? Telecom guys will say something, IT companies will say something. But the chairman was determined that yes, for him, if he needs to go to the leapfrog to the new generation, he needs to adopt it quite aggressively. So it involved, yes, we agreed to use their data centers in that country, but it involved a whole shift of upgrading the data centers. It involved creating a separate space to develop for their compliance needs. It involved buying back some of their equipment. It involved taking over some of their employees. It's a complete transformation deal. That's what we need till the full-scale adoption happens. Today, many of you would have invested a year ago, on latest technology, hardware or software. What's going to happen? If you go again to your boards for a special approval for the cloud, obviously, you're not going to look good. That's where we come in and we buy back that equipment. Similarly, people. The biggest concern for any CIO is, if you want to outsource, what will happen to my people, right? They've been with you, they've been looking up to you, for years and years. And they become your family. What do you do with them? That's another biggest mental block that I have seen against outsourcing. That's where we come in again. And then we developed, in other organization, we developed a career plan for those employees who are getting affected. We have a training division inside the company to retrain them on cloud technologies, absorb them, and give that assurance about their future as well. It worked.
Yeah, that's very good initiative from your part. But one more question ponders, everybody actually ponder over is, very recently, ransomware, WannaCry attack happened. Everybody was panicked. So in this situation, I'm talking about from the security point of view, still cloud or outsourcing is seen with a suspicion, right? What are your thoughts? Because you are driving one side, those people to go into the cloud or hosted environment, doing the transformation journey, and with their on-prem thing, it is pretty rigid. But then another side, they're not able to trust the other factor. So what are your thoughts around the security aspects, of the cloud journey or that whatever efforts they are making through the cloud services service providers?
The security landscape has changed completely during the last especially I would say last 3 years. Till before that, except a few banks or government institutions who needed extra security, but today, even a mid-range, even a manufacturing company, even a small SMB is targeted. There is no more traditional mafia where somebody is calling you for haftas anymore. There is now a new age organized crime, that is extortion using cyber warfare, extortion using the ransomware. We have seen it, hundreds of organizations getting affected. When we checked recently with cybercrime department, they simply don't have any bandwidth to go after these attackers. What does it mean for all of us sitting in this room is that we need to step up our defense systems. We need to, till 3 years ago, a simple firewall and IDS, IPS, at the most a DDoS production worked quite well for a number of years. Today it won't, definitely it won't. Today you need a lot more protection than what it was considered. So we at CtrlS, we invested in a massive lab, cyber security lab. We invested in over 28 tools. Overall, in overall about 40 plus information controls you need to deploy sooner or later. Especially financial institutions have no option but to deploy these 40 plus information controls from a compliance perspective as well. These are, these controls are from, internal security. We have seen a lot of internal security breaches happening. Disgruntled employees, suppliers, people who have ex-employees, people who had access, using mobile devices. All the employees have mobile devices and they go to different kinds of sites, various downloads happen to that, So the internal people connected with our company, security has become a big challenge. We did invest in a massive lab. We put in all the 40 information controls practice. Glad to say more than 18 banks have taken this service from us, and about 50 or 60 large conglomerates, large organizations for protecting their ERP systems. If not 40 operation controls, some. And for community clouds, we have come up with a bundled versions. For example, our banking community cloud, if you buy an instance in that, it comes with 40 information controls by default. If our ERP cloud comes with about 9 information controls built into them, which we feel is good for a manufacturing industry. So the SLA, the uptime that we give, encompasses all these security incidents, the downtime for these security incidents, plus the hardware, the software, the application. So to put it in a nutshell, the entire responsibility of maintaining uptime, encompassing across security layers as well as applications, databases, and the hardware stack and the networking stack completely delivered by us.
So I'll have one more question, but before that, I would like to know if there is any one question if you can ask to Sridhar. Is there any question, or I'll finish up my conversation with Sridhar with my last question.
Good evening, Mr. Sridhar. I would like to know what is the Vision 2020 for your company.
Vision 2020 for?
Your company.
For our company, we want to be in at least 40 odd countries. We will be, hopefully before that. And become a different kind of cloud services, data center and cloud services player. A player who provides mile deep expertise and an industrial solution, rather than a player who provides an instance at a cost, or fire up 100 instances, go to a portal and fire up 100 instances. We will be seen as an industrial solution provider using cloud technologies rather than a cloud instance provider. That's our vision.
Is this going to be a differentiator when you are competing against the global players? When you're setting up data centers across the globe, is it going to be a differentiator amongst the competitors?
Yes, it is going to be a huge differentiator. Let's say, for example, a Fortune 100 company sitting in US taking decisions. And they need capacity. Almost all the countries have passed data regulations, data sovereignty laws, that they need to creep. Even if you are doing business in let's say Saudi Arabia, you have to keep the data in Saudi Arabia. Now, who is the best provider there? I mean, so it will be a natural choice would be to go the CtrlS and Cloud4C route for these organizations. That's where we wanted to, on a global scale, we wanted ourselves to position. And it's happening. A few clients that we work with, they're working with us across all these countries. So that's
in fact, this was my last question actually. So since he asked, I'll take one more question. If you have anybody, any questions you have, one more question, then we can wind up. I think we'll take offline if there is anything. And thank you very much. You have been very nice.
Yeah.